Muted. Unmuted.
Welcome and thanks for joining us for the American Kinesiology Association webinar entitled Developing a Vibrant Student Organization, Partners in Sports at the University of Tennessee. The webinar will be presented by Dr. Robin Hardin, Dr. Jim B. Miller, and Ms. Emily Corley from the University of Tennessee, and I will provide a bit more information about them momentarily. My name is Al Smith and I am Professor and Chairperson of the Department of Kinesiology at Michigan State University. I chair the AKA Communication Committee that organizes these webinars, and I will serve as facilitator for today's presentation. The webinar is scheduled for 1 hour and will be recorded and available for playback. At the end of the day tomorrow, you can expect an email from us containing the link and the recording, or to the recording. The link will also be available on the AKA website. Go to Events and Services and then select AKA Webinars. All microphones and phone lines are muted, so we ask that you communicate with us using the GoToWebinar features. Please type your questions into the question box located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and then click Send. We will collect the questions throughout the presentation. After the presentation, I will share submitted questions with our presenters, and they will answer as many as possible during the question and answer segment. Now I'd like to give you some background information on our speakers, Dr. Robin Hardin, Dr. Jim B. Miller, and Ms. Emily Corley. Robin Hardin is a professor within the Sport Management Program in the Department of Kinesiology, Recreation, and Sports Studies at the University of Tennessee. Dr. Hardin earned his bachelor's degree in communications from East Tennessee State University. He earned both a master's in communications and sports studies from the University of Tennessee, as well as his PhD in communications. Dr. Hardin is an expert on intercollegiate athletics, particularly issues related to governance and consumer behavior. He also studies topics related to sport management education. An author of 50 refereed journal articles and more than 100 scholarly presentations, he is associate editor of Sport Management Education Journal and serves on the editorial board of the Journal of Applied Sport Management. He teaches classes on intercollegiate athletics, event management, foundations of sport management, and research methods. Dr. Hardin is also active in the field as he serves on the official statistics team for Tennessee football, as well as men's and women's basketball. He is also on the organizing committee for the News Sentinel Open, an event on the PGA's Web.com tour. Jim B. Miller is an associate professor in the Sport Management Program in the Department of Kinesiology, Recreation, and Sports Studies at the University of Tennessee. He earned his bachelor's degree in education from Miami University and his master's in education and JD from the University of Tennessee. He teaches courses in sport law, governance, and leadership. His primary research interests include risk management, constitutional issues in sport, and elite performance in sport. He has published in a variety of scholarly outlets, including Journal of Intercollegiate Sport, Scholastic Coach and Athletic Director, the Michigan State University Sport and Entertainment Law Journal, and JOPERT. Dr. B. Miller lectures nationally and internationally on elite performance in sport. He coached the 2004 Olympic champion in the pole vault, Timothy Mack, and coached athletes who have broken the Olympic, American, and NCAA records in the vault. He is the author of the chapter on pole vault training and technique in the most recent edition of the USATF Track and Field Coaching Manual, and also serves on the USA Pole Vault development staff. He has negotiated endorsement and marketing opportunities for professional athletes, including Olympic and world champions in track and field. Emily Corley is a master's student in the Sport Management Program in the Department of Kinesiology, Recreation, and Sports Studies at the University of Tennessee. She earned her bachelor's degree in Recreation and Sport Management from Tennessee, and she is graduate assistant for Partners in Sports, the Tennessee Sport Management student organization you will hear about today. Emily manages the day-to-day operation of the organization, including membership management, website updates, and scheduling student board meetings, among other duties. She also serves as the tournament director for the annual scholarship golf tournament and oversees registration for the annual fall conference. As an undergraduate, she worked for 2 years in Tennessee football recruiting operations, assisting with managing the prospect database, logistics for official visits, and other recruiting activities and events. Ms. Corley also has extensive volunteer experience, assisting with several events in the Knoxville area, including charity fundraisers for the Big Brothers Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club, and Legacy Parks Foundation. She also has volunteered for the Southeastern Conference Football Championship game, Southeastern Conference Men's Basketball Tournament, Music City Bowl, and Super Bowl. Now that you know a bit about our speakers, I will turn over the audio to Dr. Harden. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you find the webinar to be stimulating and informative.
Hello, everybody. I'm Robin Harden, and welcome to our webinar. So I'm here with Jim and Emily today. So we'll tell you a little bit about Partners in Sports and what we do and some of the lessons we've learned the past 19 years. Just a little bit of background on Partners in Sports. It was founded April 30th, 1998. Our founding director was Dr. Buck Jones, who was a faculty member in the sport management program, who's now retired. And just a little bit about Partners from the presentation that you can see. We are the student organization for sport management majors and other students in the University of Tennessee. We are not exclusive to sport management majors. The organization is open to any student at the university, graduate or undergraduate. And then our mission is to create opportunities for tomorrow's sports leaders through practical experiences, professional development opportunities. And we'll talk to you a little bit about today about how we manage those opportunities and get those. So Emily's going to tell you a little bit about the student board and the things that she does as a graduate assistant and how the organization functions from a governance standpoint. Emily?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me on today's webinar. I'm excited to talk to you all about the governance of Partners in Sports and our student board. I currently have 5 members on our student board, and it is comprised of graduate and undergrad students that come from different areas in athletics and have different experiences. So I have a student board that helps me get the student perspective. They kind of let me know what's going on in classrooms and what's going on in their areas of athletics where we can step in and we can help. The board members help me with our annual membership drive and actually all events. So they also promote Partners events to their classes, and they'll help me set up and tear down different events. I like to remind them that this is their organization as well as anybody's. They're more than welcome to come with me with questions and concerns that they have or that they've heard amongst their classmates and coworkers. I'll have Mr. B. Miller or Dr. Harden go over the faculty.
Yeah, Mr. B. Miller will talk to you a little about the governance from the university perspective and how that works as Partners being a student organization. Mr. B. Miller?
Thanks, Rob. The organization is really a partnership between the students and the department, and it was really born out of need back in the late 90s before everyone had their own laptop. Students came to the faculty and came to Dr. Jones and said, we don't have a place to study. We don't have any student computer outlets in the building. We need to make copies. We need to do these, be able to print things. And so it really started very small with this idea of need. And so it was a collaboration between Dr. Jones and the department and the students, and they used the student organization framework to put that partnership together. And I'm sure all of your campuses have a student organization framework that comes from the university. And so you don't have to start from scratch. You can use that framework. We are a registered student organization with the University of Tennessee. And when we contact the Student Affairs Office, and initially 20 years ago, they gave us the framework for developing that. So you will fill out paperwork, and what it does is it helps outline the structure of your organization. So you will have to come up with an official name. They'll have requirements for that. You'll have to designate your purpose. Ours is creating opportunities for sports. You'll have to develop a set of bylaws that you'll have to register with the university, and those will go over such things as your membership qualifications, our membership qualifications, you have to be a student in good standing in our program to be a member of Partners in Sports, or you can have an alumni membership. And we're really looking for students in our major. We're not trying to recruit students from other majors in other parts of campus like some student organizations would. So we limit our membership to students in our major. You will have to designate an outline of officers. The university will have an outline for that. We have to have a president, a secretary, a treasurer, and a faculty advisor that is registered with the university, and their duties need to be spelled out. So that is all in our bylaws. And then you have to have a succession portion of your bylaws, was how do you transfer that leadership as students move through your program. Then they're going to ask you, how often are you going to meet? They will have requirements about having an annual meeting, and of course they're going to have requirements about your finances and how you keep track of those. We have several different accounts with Partners in Sports. We're registered as a student organization just like a fraternity or a sorority. So we do have a checking account just as a fraternity or sorority would, and we are required to keep track of all those accountings. But we also have several accounts with the University Development Office. We have an endowment account, and then we have another account where alumni or benefactors to the program can make donations to our program. And so we work closely with the development office here at the university. So all of that is tied into your bylaws and into your recording and registration with the university. So there's a template there that you can make it work, and this is what we started with 20 years ago, and it seems to be working well.
Thanks, Jim. So I'll talk to you a little bit now about the role of the advisory board that we have. And so we felt like there was a need for an advisory board to help provide an outside perspective on the function of Partners. And so we currently have 4 members of our advisory board. We like keeping it small for the purposes that way the people can actually meet rather than having a 10-person advisory board and people trying to get schedules to match up where you can actually meet. We meet on an as-needed basis. We usually meet about twice a year over lunch. And the members are Dr. Jones, as you can see him, he's in the upper left-hand corner. He's the founder of Partners in Sports. And then Mindy McMurtry is a graduate of our program, and she currently works for Under Armour. Will Crockett is the most recent graduate assistant for Partners in Sports, and he currently works at Tennessee in the development office in athletics. And Scott Kimsey is a graduate of our program, and he works here in Knoxville with youth sports. And all 3 were very active in Partners when they were here at Tennessee, so they kind of provide a good perspective looking on things from the outside. They attend our events regularly, and they're really plugged in, and it's a good resource for our students too. So when we think about adding programming or things of that nature, we'll talk to them and get their perspective and see how they feel about things like that. But it's really an advisory board is a sounding board for ideas and things like that, and to kind of think big picture type stuff that we may lose track of during the day-to-day operations type of thing. So then a little bit about our membership. Like Mr. B. Miller said, most of our membership are students in our major. You can join if you're outside our major, but we're not holding membership drives in the student quad or anything like that. We do a membership drive at our building at the beginning of the year. So that's basically how we do that. So we have 150 student members approximately, and then our organization is also open for faculty and staff to be members to show support for the university, for the program, and we have about 10 faculty and staff memberships as well. So Mr. B. Miller talk a little bit then about what we do, how our schedule works out, and some of our priorities and goals throughout the year. Mr. B. Miller?
Thanks, Rob. Our scheduling is we start small. We start small and try to have quality over quantity. We don't try to do everything. We don't try to do something twice a month or every month. So we broke it into quarters. And as you can see from the screen, we kind of broke it into quarters throughout the school year. And so some of the examples up there, we try to have one major activity a quarter. And so in the fall, we have our fall conference, which is held in partnership with athletics. We hold it down at the stadium, at Neyland Stadium. We have 160 people. We fill out the room for that. And we have 4 or 5 speakers from the sports industry come and speak to our students and have lunch, and we have a round table, and they get to interact with the students. And so that's our marquee event in the fall, and we've been very fortunate with help from our partners here in Knoxville and alumni around the country. We've had CFOs and vice presidents and presidents and agents from the different professional sports industries come, and now we are branching out and trying to attract our neighboring schools to bring students to those events. So that is our major event for the fall. And we also have some smaller events that don't take as much time. They're short-term events. We have a Success in Sports panel where we invite alumni and other folks in the sports industry to come and give a small TED Talk, 10-minute talk. And we do that in the fall also. In the spring, we have a spring reception where we hand out awards and scholarships for the good work done by students through the year. And we also have another marquee speaker come in. We've had Pat Summit, Philip Fulmer, Olympians, alumni of the program. And so we try to give the students another opportunity to hear from a high-profile professional in the industry. And that is where we distribute our scholarships. And this year we're going to be fortunate to give out $17,000 in scholarships, which is really neat opportunity for us. In the summer, our major event, we have a fundraising golf tournament, which we use the proceeds from that to go straight into our endowment. And we also partner with our event management class. And this summer we'll be working at the USA Cycling Championships here in Knoxville. And so we will help staff that event and be involved in the whole process of the event.
Thanks, Jim. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the other things, and this is really where the partners in sports kind of come in, that these are the people that we actually partner with. And so I'll provide a little bit of, we're going to talk about some lessons learned at the end, but I'll kind of throw a couple in with this. So there's just some of the other things that we work with. This past year, we do the Legacy Parks Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization in Knoxville, which raises money to purchase greenways in Knoxville. The Philip Fulmer Golf Class, the Eric Berry Youth Football Camp, there's an IMG, and you can read the list down through there. But this is where the real partnership comes in, and these are organizations that want to help us as well. And so this is where we do that, to get the partners to have our students to have the opportunity to gain professional experience and things of that nature, and make contacts and do the networking and things of that nature. So this is where the true partnership part of it comes in. And so a word of caution on this, and we talk about this as an advisory board and things, or what events do we want to be involved with, because people are always looking for free labor. We have 300 undergraduate students, so let's call Rob and get 50 volunteers to help with this event. But we have to make sure those events align with the mission of Partners in Sports, and that we're just not out doing volunteer work that doesn't really benefit our students or benefit the purpose of the organization. So that's the one thing to kind of think about when you start looking for those opportunities. And we've been really fortunate to have some great partners and doing some great things that we work with. So I want to let Emily talk to you a little bit about our relationship with the Southeastern Conference, which has been very beneficial for our students. It's been a great partnership. And so Emily's had the opportunity to volunteer at 3 SEC football championship games and 1 men's basketball tournament. So Emily, tell us a little bit about your experiences with those and that partnership.
Yeah, so the first time I got to go to the SEC football championship game, I had done a lot of volunteer work with Partners in Sports throughout the year, and Dr. Harden actually came up to me and asked if I wanted to attend this for being an active member of Partners. So it felt more like a reward. I felt like I had accomplished something, and I felt like I had achieved a specific goal that I had set for myself at the beginning of joining Partners in Sports. So the SEC does a really good job of inviting a couple students from every school to attend, and students they'll have to pay their way to get to the tournament, but the SEC will provide the hotel room for them. They'll room you with other students from the SEC, so you get a chance to network with those students who you may or may not be working with in the future in the industry. What we do at the tournament, or excuse me, at the football game is media relations work. So we're passing out stats with certain media outlets, and you're rubbing shoulders with, you know, different media outlets such as, you know, SEC Network and ESPN people. So it gives you a chance to be around those professionals and gain experience in that environment. We'll also help manage the press box, which is really important, and it's just a great environment to work in. And at each of these events, it's really great because our commissioner, Greg Sankey, will come and speak to our students and sit down and talk to us and give us words of wisdom on how to be successful in this industry. So it's really inspirational for students to get to go to that, and we like to reward our active members with experiences like that. Same thing for the basketball tournament. Commissioner will come and speak, and it's a week-long event. So it's a really great thing to be a part of, and I'm honored to have the opportunity.
Thanks, Emily. So just a little bit about the partnership with the SEC. So what that provides us then, a great opportunity for our students to network with professionals working for the Southeastern Conference or the NCAA or media outlets or other sports organizations like the Bridgestone Arena or the Nashville Predators this year when the basketball tournament was held in Nashville. So it's been a great partnership for our program with that. So I'll talk a little bit about our student recognition program and how that works. So our organization started in April 30th, 1998. That's our official birthday. Last year was our 18th birthday. We had a birthday cake and had a whole big thing about it. It was pretty awesome. But we didn't start out 19 years ago giving out $17,000. So one of the things to think about as you start planning, working with your organization is don't feel like you have to do everything at once. And so what I have listed on there are the 6 awards that we give out at our spring reception. And you can see they all have different dates by them, and they just kind of happen naturally as things went around. So the first thing we did was Dr. Jones. It took us 2 years to get enough money in the endowment to give out scholarships. And so our first scholarships, I think Dr. Jones gave out two $250 scholarships in 2000. And so that just started building from that. And then in 2002, this was very student-driven. They established a Buck Jones Award, which recognizes a student with high professional promise. And so we give that out every year now. And then we have the Partners in Sports Service Award, and those are for the students who really devote a lot of work to partners and things of that nature and are kind of going above and beyond what's necessary for the success of partners. And in 2013, we established the Dr. Joy T. DeSensei Award for professionalism. And again, that was student-driven. The students wanted to recognize Joy for the standards she sets and the impact she's had on our profession. So that was established. And then in 2015, some people outside our Partners in Sports, friends of Joan Cronin, who just retired from the university, and Joan was always a big supporter of Partners in Sports. They established a Joan Cronin Graduate Fellowship, and that goes to a master's student who is majoring in sport management, and Joan prefers it to go to a former student athlete from Tennessee, but if it's not a former student athlete, it would go to somebody who's working closely with women's athletics at Tennessee. And in 2017, this year, we're establishing the Emil Catanani Award for Active Living. Emil was a faculty member at the university for 38 years, and he recently retired. And that was student-driven as well. So again, don't feel like you have to have 6 awards to give out the first year and let things kind of grow organically and just kind of go from that. The awards that are named, those are nominated by faculty members and from the student board. People do not have to apply for those, and we don't accept self-nominations. The scholarships, people apply for those. Now what happens with those, sometimes people who apply for scholarships get a special award, and that's okay. That's just kind of how it works out sometimes. But that just kind of gives you a little timeline about how, when you do start recognizing students, don't feel like you have to have, you know, again, like 6 awards starting out. And then this year, 10 people will be recognized this year with awards, with the Buck Jones Award, the Joy DeSensei Award, the Partners in Sports Service Award, and scholarships. So we'll have 10 people total receiving awards, and that total, like Jim said, will be $17,000. So up until this year, we've given out $132,000 in scholarships and awards, and that number this year was $17,000, pushes it right up at $150,000. And again, we started out with $500 in 2000, and so now we're up to 17,000. So again, it's slow and steady type deal because it's you just have to put the work in and be patient, which is sometimes a struggle in this day and age, but that's what's important about it. So I'll jump a little bit now and talk about our communication strategy with partners and some things that we do with that. So we're active on social media. We have a Facebook account. We have a Twitter account. We do not do Instagram. We don't do Snapchat or anything of that nature. Our sport management page is open to anybody who would like to be alumni or friends of the program. We have about 1,200 members on our Facebook page, and that is where we post graduate news and alumni news, people who are getting jobs. Like we just had somebody get a job as a football coach at a high school here in Knoxville. Somebody defended their dissertation yesterday, and we posted that. We had a student get a job with the USOC, and that'll be posted tomorrow. We post usually one time a day on that page. We try to post 3 to 4 times a week. We never post more than 2 times a day on it. We don't want to flood people's accounts because they'll get that notification that there's been something posted. We don't post things about, about things going on campus too much because it's really for our alumni and so they can kind of keep in touch with the program, especially people who graduated 4 or 5 years ago and they've kind of lost touch. It's a great way for them to connect with one another. So it's been really beneficial from that perspective. And we're doing some program ranking things right now, and we had to have students from who graduated in 2014 respond to a survey. So it's a great way to get those students, to be in touch with those students. So what I do after graduation every year, I go through our graduation list, and I'll find, if those people aren't already members of our Facebook page, I'll find them and ask them about joining them and try to get them to join up our page. And we've been very successful with that. Our Twitter account, it works very similar. It's more current with news, and it's also more congratulations type things and things going on campus and things of that nature. So we tweet every day at 10 o'clock. We tweet a quote of the day out, which has become pretty popular among the people who are followers. We have 1,000 followers on our Twitter account, which is really good too. I think we're almost at 1,100 now. And so I run both of those, the sport management account and the partners account. And a lot of time people will send me news and say, hey, I just got this job. Can you post it to our Facebook page? Or, hey, did you hear about so-and-so? They just got a job doing this. You might want to tweet something out about that. And I also tweet out when our graduates and current students interact with one another. They'll send me a picture, and I'll tweet it out and say, great for a former student to connect with, alumni to connect with the student, things of that nature. So that's kind of how that works. We also have our website, which is partnersinsports.com. It's basically an informational page and an archival record of things. So we have our Facebook feeds into that live for our updates, and our Twitter feed also feeds into that. And we do it through a WordPress, to a university website, and so that's been good for that. And then we have a self-sustaining email account, partners@utk.edu, and it's just easy for people who lose track of emails or want to get in touch with us to keep track of that. So we have an active email account too. So I'll talk a little bit more about the website. It's important, but what's also important for that website is to keep it current. So if you're trying to post news on it, like a blog type thing, if you're not posting on it a couple of times a week, it's not going to be current. So that kind of deters people from it. That's why we just have our Facebook feed fill into that automatically, and same thing with our Twitter feed to kind of keep it updated. And then it's a great repository then just to keep the history of our program. We have all our scholarship winners are on there, all our award winners, the history of the program, all the speakers we've ever had at the fall conference, our success in sport panel, our women's roundtable speakers, and things of that nature. So that's really a great way to archive our history of our program for that. And then I also talk a little bit about the value of the handwritten note, which many of you probably think about that too. So we're really big on that. So anybody who wins, who receives a scholarship or an award, we have about 30 of our major benefactors that help with our program, from our golf tournament to donors and things of that nature. And so all those people send handwritten notes. We send handwritten notes when we have people that come and speak. We spent the fall conference and everybody that helped us out with things. And that's really been a great relationship builder for us. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from that. And so I would encourage, and I spend some time on that, making sure students do it. But that's been really positive. And I'll just tell a quick story about Emily. Emily sent her thank you note to Greg Sankey for speaking to the students at the football championship game. And he actually responded back to her, and they've been able to build a little bit of rapport through that. So it's been a very positive experience with that too. So just for time's sake, I'll switch over, kind of speed up a little bit here and talk about our partners. And these are our biggest partners I have up there. These are really our big benefactors that kind of help us out. And it's not necessarily like money, but just straight cash and donations, but it's things they give us in time. Like Tennessee Athletics really helps us out by giving us the access to speakers, access to athletic department facilities. We get to use a room in the stadium to hold our fall conference in. We get to use a different room to hold our spring reception in, and we don't get charged for that, which is great. The Vol Network, which is the rights holder for the university's media rights, they do provide a substantial donation to our scholarship endowment each year, but we do a lot of work for them, helping out with marketing promotions they do. And then the Knoxville Sports Commission, the New Sentinel Open, we're a charity beneficiary of the New Sentinel Open and some other things. And we really go to Chick-fil-A for if we need food services. They've been really good with that and so forth. And then I circled the other thing, our alumni. They're our biggest partner. That's our relationship with our alumni is extremely important. Media has made that so much easier to maintain as well. But that's where we get most of our graduate students come from, alumni recruiting who are working at universities. They're sending students here. I'm speaking with somebody from the University of Pittsburgh today because one of our graduates works up there. He's thinking about coming to graduate school here. One of our graduates works for the Tennessee Golf Association. He's looking to hire somebody, so he sent me the job announcement to send out to our students. So our biggest partner is our alumni. So that's important to maintain those relationships too, then start building back those relationships back out. So let's spend a little bit about some of the challenges with having a student organization, and I think Mr. B. Miller talked a little bit about some of the challenges about student involvement and things of that nature. So Mr. B. Miller?
Well, as you can see, the ones we have listed there, getting the word out to students in the social media age or the email age is very difficult because they get flooded by so many different things in their inbox. It's how do you stand out? So we have to really work hard. Our graduate students and Emily and myself and Rob, we work really hard to try to get to them face-to-face, either at announcements at the beginning of class or spreading the words through the students, talking about partners and what it is, because an email blast will be ignored most of the time. So getting students to understand that we're trying to create more opportunities for them, that's one of the things we have to watch out for. And this another big challenge with student organizations that I think you should talk about with your faculty is it is by the students for the students, and they do a great job, and we're very blessed. I think one of the keys when it was first started is Dr. Jones had a graduate assistant assigned to the program that could be a liaison between the faculty and the students, and that was their job, was to be the manager of Partners in Sports, and they do an excellent job. But I think that is a key to this success. I think also you have to have some continuing faculty commitment, because you'll see the normal life of a student organization where you get some students very excited, they start an organization, but as they matriculate through the system and graduate, how does that program continue and how does it continue to build? And I think that's one of the success stories that we've had, is we've had department head buy-in and buy-in by the faculty to be involved, and it's become one of our biggest brands. It's become the brand of our program, and people know we do good work, and that happened over time. But I think that's one of the pitfalls of a student organization is they don't have enough faculty mentorship, and I'm very blessed to Dr. Harden brings great social media and sports information skills, and that has really set us over the top. And to have the faculty buy-in, I think that's really important. It's one of the challenges we have is to make sure people stay involved.
And I'll add too, there's a note on there about too much programming. So one thing that I learned quickly from Dr. Jones when he was Dr. Jones who started the organization, who was the faculty advisor till his retirement, is Students aren't looking to have business meetings. They're not looking for things of that nature. They're looking for programming, and then that's kind of talks about like the benefit awareness. So like that's why so some of the other things about the lessons learned is, start slow. Don't feel like you have to have a meeting every 2 weeks. Don't feel like you have to have all this programming. So that's why we really just have 7 events a year, big events a year. And then we kind of have other things as they kind of pop up that we can add in the things on campus if somebody's going to be around. Like for instance, this year, one of our graduates works at Talladega Super Speedway, and she wanted to come up and visit campus. So we had a Talladega Day at Tennessee. So I arranged for her to speak in 3 classes. So she came up and gave a presentation about NASCAR and Talladega Super Speedway in our classes. So that was a great opportunity for us, and we worked that out, weeks ahead of time to get it in the class schedule, get it on the syllabus and things of that nature. So it was really good from that perspective. So Mr. Beamer would like to add something to that as well.
Yeah, I really think when you think about your programming that you can tier that programming. We have a major event where it's going to take some time and take a lot of involvement. You can have smaller events like our Women's Roundtable with 15 students who go out to dinner with a female professional and talk about women's issues in sports. And that's another tier event. And then our third tier is we send out opportunities that we receive. We're a pass-through to the students about things that are coming up that they can volunteer for. So we're not really involved in the management of that, but we're telling them about the opportunities so they know they'll hear about those opportunities. So be aware of those tiers. Not everything, we want to do everything well, but not everything takes a lot of management time.
Yeah, and then some of the things on like the opportunity side of it, it is a great way for us to volunteer, and it does give us a brand. We are Partners in Sports, Tennessee Sport Management. So we have our logo and all those, things that kind of go along with that. So when we do something, there is a way to be recognized. We can be recognized. And it also has made it it makes it easy for people to give back. We do have a scholarship endowment people can donate to. We do have an operating fund people can donate to. So that works out. People can say, hey, we want to help you. How can we do things to help you and things of that nature? So that's really been pretty valuable for us a little bit as well. So I'll talk a little bit about the lessons learned. We'll kind of finish up with this. And we kind of hit on these kind of some ways to go down. I'll just kind of hit on a couple of them. We talked about being a small student board. Same thing with the advisory board. You don't want to have to try to get 10 or 12 people together to meet. Everybody's busy. Emily can kind of chuckle as we talk about trying to she has 5 board members, and it's, they try to meet once a month, but it's a struggle with that someplace as well. And I'll tell you the one thing to talk about on the OOPS side is don't always have your hand out and don't always be asking for things. We kind of take the approach, how can we help you? And then we kind of take the lead on that, and then we turn that around, and then we realized, and then people will say, well, what can we do to help you? Type thing. So we help with there's a big wing festival in Knoxville, and we help with it. And what that's related to, what we got out of that was we helped with the setup of that wing festival, and how that benefited us in the long run is we now have all the drinks donated for our golf tournament from the vendor at that wing festival because they were sponsor that event. So that's the real partnership, and those type of things come about. And so I also have membership dues on there. You have to provide place value on things. Our membership is $10 a year, which is minimal, but we don't want that just because you're in our major, you're a member. You do have to make a financial commitment. The same thing with the fall conference. We just charge $10 to attend. We provide breakfast and lunch, but we've been very fortunate to have sponsors to help offset those costs and those type of things. So that's been part of that as well. And then I'll add also on there, go first class, it's worth it. I know, money and revenue and things like that, but it's worth to spend the extra, $20 to have a flyer printed first class than to try to print it off on stock paper yourself and try to cut it even and things like that. We're having our spring reception in 2 weeks, and so it's worth it to us to go get those the programs professionally printed, to hand out to the people that come. We'll have about 70 attendees. And so it's worth it to make that impression on our graduates and current students that, hey, this is what our program looks like. It's not something printed off a printer. And it's going to cost, $15 to do that. So it's worth it to kind of go that first class a little bit. So Mr. B. Miller, I'd like to add a little bit to that as well.
I will would say that Dr. Jones and the students that started Partners, I really think they were ahead of their time, because the idea of a student organization getting involved on campus and partnering with athletics and partnering with the community, that, we hear about those things all the time about experiential learning and community development and getting out of your silo and partnering with other people on campus. I think that's the beauty of having a student organization like Partners, is that it is a conduit for doing those things that we're being encouraged to do anyway.
Thanks, Jim. So we'll just do a couple of takeaways. So that's a picture from our fall conference that we had. So again, like Emily said, we usually have about 160 to 170 attendees at that. And so we created a culture that you should attend that conference. So we schedule it. We already know the day, basically the 2 days could be held on this fall. We're working on getting the room finalized. But we'll have that put on the syllabus for all our classes, and our faculty will attend. We'll not have classes that day in the morning, so students can attend. It's from 8:30 to 12:30. We have breakfast. We have 4 speakers, then we have lunch. So people who are on a tight schedule can kind of come and go as they need to with that. But it's very much about creating a culture. It's almost like, why should you not be a member of Partners in Sports, rather than why should you be a member of Partners in Sports? And that's helping with our membership. We like 150. We have about probably close to 300 students in our program altogether, so we'd like to get that up a little bit more. But again, it kind of goes back to people are busy. Do they really want to be involved? Do they understand kind of what's going on and things of that nature? It takes time. Like I said earlier, Partners were started in 1998. We didn't give our first scholarships out until 2000, and then now we're up to we're almost to $150,000 mark. So it does take time. You're not going to, invent the wheel overnight type thing. So our endowment now is up to about $425,000. I wish it was $425 million. About $425,000, and then that spends off about anywhere between $18,000 and $20,000, which we can give to our students each year. So that's been very positive. And again, it's been a building process. That didn't happen overnight. It's taken us 19 years to get there. But we do some fun things. Like last year was Partners in Sports' 18th birthday, so we tried to have our graduates give $18, and we tried to raise $1,800. So we had enough of our graduates give $18, and we raised $1,800. We did a thing for the Buck Jones Challenge. Buck's he always wanted to raise $10,000, have 100 graduates give $100 to raise $10,000. So we did the Buck Jones Challenge a couple of years ago, and we were able to raise $10,000 doing that. So we try to do some fun things. The golf tournament's always our biggest fundraiser, and we're able to put usually between $7,500 and $10,000 in the endowment from revenue generated from that, somewhere close to that. So that's really a big one for that. And then we also get our operating revenue from that too. The same thing with the programming. The Women's Roundtable really started 4 years ago, and that was student driven. And so we started out with like 6 students going to dinner with somebody, a woman working in the industry, and that's kind of grown, and now that's really solidified, and so it's an annual event now, and we have between 12 and 20 of our female students go and have dinner with a professional working in the industry where they can talk about some of those type of things. So again, that wasn't something that started in 1998. That was something that started basically 14, 15 years later. So it does take time from that perspective as well. And then I'll finish up with this idea of stick to your purpose. Make sure you know what you're doing and stick to your purpose and don't get sidetracked. A lot of people will start, there's a lot of ways to get down the rabbit holes and get lost and things of that nature, but it's really important to say, our mission is creating opportunities for tomorrow's sports leaders. What do we want? What are we going to do with that, and how's that work? So we really talk about that as a faculty, myself and Mr. Beamel and the other faculty, and we talk to Emily and some of the other student leadership about that. Like, is this event something we want to work with? Is this beneficial to partners? Is this beneficial to our students? How can we do that type thing? And so for the good news, for all you people out there trying to get tenure and working on annual reviews and things like that, there's some research opportunities. So there's an article that was published in Sport Management Education Journal about partners. We presented on partners at NASM in 2014. We had this webinar as a result of our work with partners, and then we're also doing a couple of other things. We also have 2 projects in the work right now, doing some research with our student organizations and partners and things as well. So there's some ways you can tie that back into the research side of things and the academic side of things as well. So those are our partners' maxims. General Nealon was a longtime football coach at Tennessee, and he had 7 maxims. So we adopted those maxims, and that's kind of the guiding principles for how partners work. So you can kind of, I'm not going to go through those, but you can kind of take a look at those. But that's kind of how, those are kind of our objectives, I guess, or our mission statements and all that kind of stuff rolled up into one to see how we operate as an organization. So with that, I'll close it up, and I think Al may have a few questions, and we can kind of go from there. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Rob, Jim, and Emily. You offer an incredible model for a vibrant student organization, and I think what we'll do now is take some questions. As a reminder to everyone attending, you can type your questions into the question box, which is located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and then click send. We had a question that I'll share with you pertaining to the advisory board. One of our attendees was curious how the advisory board is selected, and then how long is a typical appointment?
Well, so our advisory board, we initially sent out a message to about 10 of our graduates who live in the area and asked them if they would be interested in serving in an advisory board capacity. And some were like, I'd love to, but I don't have time. I'll be glad to help out any way I can, and things of that nature. So we try to get the most recent graduate assistant, if they're still in the Knoxville area, which Will is, and so he would do it for 2 years, and then so they usually are on it for 2 years at a time. And then if they want to stay on it, they can choose to stay on it, or if they don't have the time to commitment to do it, they can rotate off of it. But we do for two-year appointments, basically, based upon the role of the GA perspective on that. So we're looking for people who are interested, because we have a lot of people who are interested in helping with partners, but a lot of people cannot say, I can't promise you I can meet with the students, twice a year. I don't know what my schedule is and things of that nature. And so we totally understand that. So it's basically a feeler was sent out to 10 or 12 alumni in the area, asking if they'd like to be interested in doing it, and then get the feedback from that. And then the student board will sit down with the people who say they do have an interest, and then say, we think this person would be good, we think this person would be good, and then we confirm that they'd be willing to do it, and then go from that perspective. But we usually try to do it every 2 years to rotate people on and off if people don't want to do it anymore, or people who, in that way, you'll give people who have opportunity to get on who maybe have an interest in doing it. So, like, for instance, one of our advisory board members had just changed jobs. She works for Under Armour, but she just kind of switched her responsibilities, and she's going to be on the road a tremendous amount of time coming up. So we expect that she'll rotate off. So her term would be up in the fall of 2018, so we expect that she'll rotate off then. If not, she may have to rotate off before, but that's kind of how we do that.
Great, thank you. And then another question pertains to the communication side. I think you had mentioned that you play a pretty active role in that, but the question is about who's in charge of organizing the communication side and producing the content and so forth.
So I'll comment on that too as well. So we actually schedule our Facebook post, and so like we know what our posts are going to be for like the next 3 or 4 days. So I'll sit down with Emily, and she'll let me know if people have jobs, or people will notice things on Facebook that people have gotten jobs, or their LinkedIn profiles they've gotten jobs. So we'll kind of schedule that out and know what we're going to post from that. But I really take the lead on that, and that kind of goes back to the faculty commitment. We think that's important. So I take the lead on that and do that. The Twitter account, I manage that too, but Emily also has access to whoever the graduate assistant is. It's just Emily right now. She also has access to the Twitter account. So we do that as well. But again, somebody has to kind of make that a priority. Somebody that's going to say, every day I'm going to be looking for those type of things, and make it a priority about how they're going to try to communicate via social media.
Great. Thank you. I wonder if you can speak a little bit to how you've approached leadership continuity, given student the natural student turnover. And I know you mentioned that there's succession planning in your bylaws, and there's a GA and faculty commitment. But I wonder if you can speak a little bit more about how you cultivate leadership, say, in underclassmen, and make sure that there's good continuity on the student side of the organization.
Yeah, Mr. B. Miller will comment on that. He kind of oversees the student board and things of that nature. So, Mr. B. Miller?
Thanks, Rob. I think that's a good question because of the ever-changing matriculation, we really rely on our graduate students who teach a lot of classes, and I teach undergrad classes. Rob teaches undergrad classes also. So, and we have some introductory things, activities that we have an activity with the Vol Network where we work every home football game, and we need 20 people to manage that event, and we send that out to the undergrads. And so you get to see, it's basically active recruiting, people that want to get involved in our projects, and then we keep an eye on that. And so there's a lot of active recruiting going on about, hey, I really think you would do a good job. Would you be interested in serving on the advisory board? Go and talk to Emily. Go and talk to the other students on the board. So there aren't any really strict requirements in the bylaws. They have to be appointed by the faculty advisor, and they can be reappointed by the faculty advisor every year. But it's a recruiting process, and you can see who does a good job and who's interested.
Emily has something to say about that as well, Al.
Yeah, I would like to say that we do keep an Excel doc of all of our members, and I'll keep track of kind of who's doing what throughout the semester and throughout the year, and how active our members really are. So that way, if we do have something come up like the SEC football game, we have specific students that we can ask to about that, and that kind of attracts them to our organization. It attracts their classmates to the organization, because then it sparks interest. Like, how did you guys get to go to that game? Or, for example, one of my board members, I met him at the Music City Bowl. It was his freshman year, and he volunteered for the Music City Bowl. I said, I really like him. His name's Andrew, and I was like, Andrew, I want you to be on my student board. And he's been an active member ever since, and people ask him questions all the time. How'd you get involved? And it's really a great way to get to know your students, get to know your classmates, and spark interest in those students. So we have students get up and say, I joined Partners, and I got involved this way. So you really have to get those other kids to get up and testify.
Mm-hmm. I'll say a couple other things about being involved. So we do a couple of things that are fairly high profile, that they're like glamorous jobs, but going to the SEC championship events is really neat experience for our students to experience those environments. But we also take care of we call it the court crew, and those are the people who sit underneath the goal during men's basketball games and keep the floor clean. If somebody falls, they go out and basically wipe up the sweat. Which doesn't sound like a glamorous job, but we found out pretty quickly students really want to do that. So Andrew actually, he kind of took charge of that. So we had 18 home men's basketball games this year, and we sent out the sign up for it, and it was basically filled up in 2 weeks. There's five volunteer opportunities at each game, but it was filled up in about 2 weeks to do that, because it gives a chance for they're down on the floor during the games. Coach Barnes, usually our men's basketball coach, usually meets thanks them after the game and things of that nature. So that kind of helps people want to get involved, and they see like, hey, I like to do that. How do you do that? And then the people doing it, like, well, I'm a sport management major and I'm in Partners in Sports, and that's how we do the volunteer opportunities and things of that nature. And we help with Eric Berry's football camp as well, and Knoxville he does a youth football camp. And so a lot of people want to get the opportunity to meet Eric and meet his family and meet some of the players that he brings with him. So that's kind of a way. So if you're active in Partners, you get an opportunity to go volunteer there. And the same thing with the Philip Fulmer Golf Tournament. People who are active in Partners, they get first priority. So the Philip Fulmer Golf Tournament's on May the 5th this year, and they need 12 volunteers. So our first priority will be for people who are active in Partners in Sports. And then if there's opportunities left, then we'll kind of go to the rest of the Partners membership and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Mr. Bean, I'd like to add to that as well.
And I think it's a process where the students graduate into managing these programs too. So once they've worked these events as a volunteer and they show the aptitude and they show the interest, next year they're going to help manage the event. So I think it's a good upward process.
Yeah, I think that's really impressive. The special access, I think, is a real carrot, and I know with some student groups, one of the challenges is involving people beyond that really small core that always do everything. But it sounds like these types of opportunities would draw in others and then turn them into active contributors. So I think that's really great.
Well, we still have the issue with, we have 150 members. We probably have about 60 active members.
Yeah.
So we still have that issue with that. We have the people who pay their $10 and we never see them again. And that's okay. I mean, and we know that some people, they may be working a full-time job. They may have family responsibilities. They have school responsibilities. We don't expect people to volunteer everything. We do expect people to be involved. And some people are involved as much as they can. And we understand that. And so that's just kind of where it goes with that. But again, yeah, that's something, getting the student buy-in is really important. And we struggle with that every day. You know, every time we have an event, we struggle with that. You know, are students really going to buy into that? And are they going to come and hear that? We have to be able to add to that as well.
Yeah, I think that's an issue, but we really try to stress, if you're a member of Partners in Sports, you need to do these core quarterly activities. You need to be at the conference. You need to help with the golf tournament. You need to be at the spring reception. So we try to give them a basis to say, this is your responsibility as a member to support these events, and then let them go from there and do as much as they want to or can do besides those core events.
Thank you. And then this is probably a quick question. Is Partners in Sports local to UT, or is there a national organization of some sport that underlies it?
Well, we are local to UT, so we're looking for franchise opportunities if anybody's interested. No, we have talked to other universities about what we do at Partners and how Partners functions and things of that nature. But yeah, we're very much UT based and things of that nature. But yeah, we have talked to other universities and faculty members of other universities about the things that we do and things like that. But really, Buck Jones, who founded the organization, he provided the foundation for all of it. He worked really hard to get it started, and then the work that he did in 1998, 1999, 2000, and the early 2000s has really put us to where we are today as far as where we are in the community, our reputation in the community, and things of that nature. So he really is the one who set the foundation for that. And I'll add another thing too, real quick. I know we're almost out of time. Is the idea about so my involvement in the community and Mr. B. Miller's involvement in the community, that really helps us open the doors with the relationships to get our students involved. We're pretty heavily involved with the new Sentinel Open, which is the web.com tour event in Knoxville, and me being on the championship committee helps with that. So those type of things. And again, that's a commitment from the faculty, but I believe that's important, so I'm willing to do that to make it work and give those opportunities for our students. And it's been great. We have several students working in the golf industry today. I can't say it's a direct cause because of that, but it certainly didn't hurt anything that our students were able to meet all those people working for the PGA Tour and the web.com tour and things of that nature.
Well, that is all the time we have for today. I regret we can't get to all of the questions, but I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone for joining us today, and also to Rob, Jim, and Emily for helping present to us just a wonderful model for a vibrant student organization. I think there's a lot of takeaways from this that can help those of us elsewhere as we think about our student organizations. If you would, please take a few moments when your webinar window closes to complete a short survey of today's webinar. We appreciate your feedback as it helps us continually improve our webinar offerings. We will email everyone a link to the recording of today's presentation so that you can view it yourself or pass it along to friends or colleagues. Thank you again for your participation today, and I hope everyone has a great afternoon.